We're live in the KHQA garden this morning. We're talking all about planting beans, but first we want to show you something, a little helpful hint for you. Over there we had peppers in our garden. And of course, this is Kathy Carpenter, Master Gardener at University of Illinois Extension. What was wrong with the peppers?
Well, they were just looking a little peaked. So
Okay.
I decided to give them a little additional pick-me-up, which is a mixture of compost and manure.
Kind of like Red Bull for peppers.
Exactly. Peppers tend to be a little more finicky, even though they, you wouldn't think so. They take a little more pampering than some of the other plants.
Well, and speaking of other plants, we're going to get right down to it in plants and beans. Last half hour we planted some cucumbers, pickling cucumbers along here.
A little additional fence we put up.
And now we're going to do green beans?
Green beans.
Okay,
yes.
very good. So what do you have to do for green beans?
Green beans do not like to be planted anytime the soil is really wet. And it's also kind of a good idea to keep an eye on the weather report and don't plant them just before it rains.
Okay.
They like to kind of settle into the ground before they start getting watered.
Okay.
So, because they just tend to rot a little bit if you don't. And they're big, they're real big. So, if you notice, because of their size, I'm going to plant them about an inch deep.
Okay. Can I help you with that?
Sure.
I'll walk into the mud or the dirt.
Okay.
So an inch deep. You've already got
an
the
inch
soil
deep,
about that way.
Well, actually, what I do is I just push them down to my first joint of my finger, and I'm not covering them yet because and then you just continue down the row and push them down, and then when you're all done, that way you know where you planted them.
Okay.
And then you can go back and cover them up.
Okay, very good.
And they can probably go somewhere between 2 and 3 inches apart. And bush beans, which I sincerely hope these are, they generally don't need to be thinned.
Okay.
They use themselves for support, and they come up.
Very good.
And we'll do 2 rows, and there's space for a 3rd row. Usually what I do is I wait till they're up a bit and then plant another row so you can have a continuous harvest of green beans. And I've noticed our lettuce is getting to the point where that really can be harvested, or you can start harvesting it. And once it's used up, because once it starts getting really hot around here, they'll go to seed and they get bitter and you don't want them anymore. Okay. So after they're done, I might put a few beans in there too.
Very good. Well, we're of course continuing our John Wood Community College garden here at KHQA. Stick with us. Next week we're going to be talking about something completely new. We'll be right back after the break.